You know, there's a 10-year delay in the Soviet Union of delivery of an automobile. And only 1 out of 7 families in the Soviet Union own automobiles. There's a 10-year wait. And you go through quite a process when you're ready to buy, and then you put up the money in advance. And this happened to a fella, and this is their story that they tell, this joke. That this man, he laid down his money, and then the fella that was in charge said to him, okay, come back in 10 years and get your car. And he said, morning or afternoon? And the fella behind the counter said, well, 10 years from now, what difference does it make? And he said, well, the plumber's coming in the morning.
Enough nerds in the simulation. How is your Friday going? I'm watching Twitter burn to the ground because apparently Joe Rogan said something nice about Bernie, and the purist in Bernie camp is just, the transphobia and the whatever the fuck we made up. Fucks, they weren't gonna like you anyways. As soon as it's not convenient for them to not like you, they're gonna not like you. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you don't do. It's a purity contest. That's all it is. How pure of a victim can you be to gain the most power in what seems to be the new Communist Party? Hey, there you go. Enjoy the fucking go find the hot ones on Twitter contest they're running right now. Of the thousands I looked at, I found maybe 4. Maybe. I came 3 times twice, as I once heard somebody funny say. But yeah, so that's it. Rogan said nice things about Bernie. He had a podcast with him on there. And here are these people. Do you realize what a kind of a fucking cunt you have to be to not like Joe Rogan? To not like somebody based on a podcast? To just completely dismiss somebody as a comedian and an artist because they have said something that may or may not have been your choice to be offended by in the moment, while your other allies have said same thing in your camp, but you look the other way because you're saving them for later. But now here comes somebody who fucking says something. Oh, let's go back through his past and fucking ruin his life. They were going to do it anyways. They're going to do it to me. They've already done it. If they haven't done it to you yet, they're coming. It's a purity contest. It's all it is. It's the same fucking idiots that would have been rallying behind Tipper Gore in the 80s telling you that the public needed to have stickers on albums. That's all that it is. It's what was once known as the what do they call that? The religious right. Remember, they would wag their finger and tell you what to listen to and what to think. Well, this, folks, is just this completely flipped. It's all it is. And in history repeating itself, it has, except the players have now changed, where, you grew up where all of a sudden, you had a certain sensibility of comedy and music and just general culture. And all of a sudden you had people telling you how to fucking live. And I was like, oh, that doesn't make sense then. And it didn't make sense in the 90s when it got more politically correct. And now that it's completely flipped and people without any moral compass are now telling you how to live, people who live without forgiveness, people who can only exist inside of a circular firing squad. They are cannibals. They are eating themselves. For us to deny them their own sustenance is for us to be cannibal phobic. At some point in this argument, you will be called cannibal phobic by denying them the blood that they must feast on. And here it is for everybody to see on Twitter as they melt down, and it's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. And it's going to keep getting smaller. It has to. Because there are certain people, like when Donald Trump got elected and he won, 2016, and you watch everybody take to Twitter and get their likes and get their little tribes up and pat each other on the back, calling everybody else a fucking Russian, blah, 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 blah. And if you like this, then this means this and this, this, this. It's the same thing going on now. Except those people who were so hot to trot to do it in 2016 when Trump won aren't saying fucking shit now. Why? Because it's absolutely absurd. Now you agree that it's absurd, or because it might hurt your career now? Which one is it, you fucking hypocrites? For those of us who've been playing it down the middle since the beginning, you can have a conversation with somebody and heaven forbid you might learn something. Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid you could say, well, what are you into, Bernie? Tell me about your plan. Because I like the guy. I like Bernie Sanders. I like listening to him. He's got great passion. He's got all right, his ideas, maybe not so much. I'm not as pro Gulag as seemingly everybody who works in all of his offices. They might have a communications problem inside of their campaign, or if they're going to go from office to office to office, and inside of all of their offices are Antifa and full-on commie burn it down bros who are calling for guillotines and gulags and making the rich work and all of this other nonsense. I like the kid who says, yeah, I'll go train in the future, meaning he hasn't done it. He's willing to sit here and have this conversation now about how he's going to burn it down, and he will when he gets around to it. And so I think that it's funny now that Veritas can go out and put a camera in these people's faces. They got to make their Twitter go fucking dark, which is sad because they're missing all the fucking hot chicks for Bernie. It's a dynamite thread. Where are my BBWs for Bernie? That's the thread I want. Get on that. I want no body shaming, and I want to know who my body shaming burners are. You don't think communist China right now is just culling the hot chicks for Bernie to figure out who they're going to use for forced breeding when they bring their concentration camps here? If you want to play this down the fucking, keep going the way that it's going, and the people who are tell you you're wrong unless you are fully in the camp of the Gulag, that's where they want to go, folks. And they're telling you right now, by pointing out somebody who's been an absolute champion for human rights across the board, and an open-hearted listener, and a great guy and a funny person, and no, burn it down. You fucking pussies. You absolute fucking pussies. And so now it's gotten to a point where it is so absurd. Hey, there you're going to go. And how much worse can it get? Now, if you point out that there's a virus going on the planet, it may or may not be connected to the fact that people are getting the soup with the bat fucking hot tubbing on the side of it. That's not weird to anybody right now. Weirder than that is the coronavirus was not a thing. And then all of a sudden it was a thing. A couple days before that, before it was a thing, there was the idea that somebody was working on a cure for the thing. That stock jumped up 60%. 35 days before that, Bill Gates may or may not have invested in both the disease and the cure. Who are you, Stallone? Folks, the fact that all of a sudden when Adam Schiff is shitting the bed Freddie Jackson, when all they can do is repeat the accusation, nothing follows. Accusation, nothing follows. And they have burned it down. The impeachment charade is awful. It's tracking terribly. The few people that are watching it, there's not even highlight reels coming out of it because it's just droning on and on and on. You almost watch Schiff going, Jesus, when this is they're just going to kill him right then and there because they've got nothing. And then you watch Lindsey Graham run out there, and he's pretty much, yeah, well, maybe he didn't know he was doing something. What the fuck? Are you out of your mind? Like I said, I wouldn't trust McConnell for shit. I don't trust Lindsey Graham for shit. You should not trust a single one of these politicians because they are serving themselves. They're serving their families. Then they're serving their donors who are serving a certain portion of their constituents. Nothing has anything to do with preserving your freedom, your rights, and your Constitution. So we should be working with folks who are there to preserve that for all, and not just there for the folks who are there to preserve it for them and the people who agree with them. As long as those people continue with them, they get the freedom that's allowed the people who agree. If you don't agree, you don't get any freedom. You get the Gulag. If you don't agree, you get fucking trashed on Twitter. If you don't agree, whatever the fuck, it doesn't matter. The point is that they don't agree, and the more they don't agree, the more absurd that it looks from a 40,000 foot view, and then the smaller their group gets, and in the end, 94% pro-America, 6% anti-America. And if you want to watch anybody on the left, anybody who is a leftist purist, their camp is not getting bigger. They're looking to expand the definition of victimhood so they can accept more members that way. But they're not bringing in winners. They're not bringing in people who succeed. And they're losing numbers. And they're hemorrhaging, and you can show it. By the way, that, today's March for Life is not covered. The fact that impeachment from beginning to end so far has been an absolute stinker, all right? I don't think what the Republicans have coming is going to be any better. It's probably going to be just as fucking boring. And that's it. That's all I figured out now. And I think, is that enough? Is that enough? Can I finally do my Whiskey and the Surfer now? I've got some hate breed coming out. Yes, we're going to be talking about bat eaters. Why not? Those fucking bat eaters, you stay where you are. Listen, any communist, any socialist, anybody is anti-America, now in my mind, you're a motherfucking bat eater. All right? There you go. That's my new, it's like calling somebody a nerd. You're a fucking bat eater. Now wear it, you puss.